So this lesson is on solving something called compound inequalities. So think of it kind of as two inequalities at once, and we're going to try to find a solution that works for both of them, or for all of the inequalities involved. So find the correct page in your notes, and then we're going to get started here. So first thing we need to do is I need you to make a small little change in your notes. I had a typo here. For example number 1, I need you to make this a is less than 4. Okay, so cross out the inequality that's there and change that into less than 4 for me. All right, so a compound inequality is an inequality with two parts. So we're going to start with an and inequality. So we would read this one as a is greater than or equal to 2 and a is less than 4. So the solution to it is one that meets both of those criteria. So we can show this on our number line. I want to make sure I have the numbers 2 and 4 on there. So I could do 2, 3, 4, and then fill in the rest of my numbers to make it fit. I want numbers that are greater than or equal to 2. So I'm going to use a closed circle at 2. I want numbers that are less than 4. So I'm going to use an open circle at 4. And then I want what's in between those two. So I want greater than 2, but less than 4. So I'm going to shade this section in between. So we're going to kind of have, instead of just one circle, we're going to have 2 circles and then a certain portion of the line that gets shaded. What makes both of those statements true? So anything from 2 up to, but not including 4, would work. And to write our solution, we write it like this. X such that 2 is less than or equal to x, and x is less than 4. So 2 is my low end, 4 is my high end for that particular set of numbers. So let's see that on a couple more. So I have b is greater than -1. So I want an open circle at -1, and I'm going to shade greater than. And then b is less than or equal to 3. So at 3, I'm going to do a closed circle, because it's okay to be greater than, or is okay to be equal to, and I want numbers that are less than that. So I'm going to shade this portion in between. To write my solution, I'm going to put it in my brackets, b, such that my low end is -1, so -1 is less than b, and b is less than or equal to 3. So I'm kind of combining those two pieces together. You'll notice that I'm taking this inequality and I'm reversing it, but notice that when I reverse it, the inequality sign reverses as well. So I'm kind of writing it so that the b is in the middle so that I can write that final equation or final inequality. So next one, 2 is greater than or equal to r, and r is greater than or equal to -4. So this one kind of sounds a little strange, but in reality, it's really just written backwards. We want to put a closed circle at 2, because it's okay to be equal to 2. We want a closed circle at -4. And basically, we want what's in between. So if I were to rewrite this, -4 is less than or equal to r, and r is less than or equal to 2. So we put the smaller number on the left and the larger number on the right, and it makes a little bit more sense for us. So -4 is on the low end, 2 is on the high end, so I want everything in between, so I shade all those numbers in between. So I would write this as r such that -4 is less than or equal to r, and r is less than or equal to 2. All right, so now we solve it. So for solving, basically think of it as we're solving all of it. So whatever I do to one portion of it, I do the same thing to all of the portions of it. So in this case, kind of think of it as we have 3 sections. We focus on the variable, w. Well, they added 3, so I'm going to subtract 3. But I have to do the same thing to everything else in the inequality. So 4 minus 3 becomes 1, is less than, w is less than or equal to 2. So I solved all portions of the inequality at the same time. Now I go ahead and graph it. I'm going to put an open circle at 1. I'm going to put a closed circle at 2. And then I want everything in between, so I'm going to shade in between those two. So my solution set is W such that 1 is less than W, and W is less than or equal to 2. So this one, it just happened to be a very small little section of our line. So try the next one for yourself. Hit pause, try it, and then hit play again and see if you agree with my answer. So over here, I'm going to focus on my variable. I want to get P by itself, so I'm going to add 5. So I get 2 is less than or equal to P is less than 3. Again, this is one that are very close to each other. At 2, I'm going to do a closed circle. At 3, I'm going to do an open circle. And then I want to shade the numbers in between. So in between 2 and 3. My solution, P such that 2 is less than or equal to P and P is less than 3. Okay. All right, now we're going to switch it up, and now we're going to do something called an OR inequality. So and was, it's got to meet both of those criteria. It's got to be greater than this number and less than this number. For OR, it's going to be this or that. It's going to be two completely different possibilities. So here's what that looks like on a number line. So I have x is less than or equal to -3. So I want to close circle at -3, and I want to shade numbers that are less than -3. So I'm going to shade going to the left. Or I want x is greater than 2. So I'm going to put an open circle at 2, and I'm going to shade numbers greater than 2. So my solutions are either numbers less than -3 or greater than 2. I don't want anything in between those two. It's an either or situation. And we write that with that or in between. We say, okay, it can be this or it can be this. All right, for our next one, we need to make a small little correction. I had a typo in there and I didn't catch it. So we should have 2a plus 1 is greater than 11, and then a is greater than 3a plus 2. So go ahead and make that change. Now we're going to simply solve these two inequalities. Since it's an or, we kind of solve them separately. 2a plus 1 is greater than 11. So I just solve it like a inequality or an equation. And I get a is greater than 5. Here I have a is greater than 3a plus 2. So I'm going to subtract the 3a to the other side. I'm going to divide by -2. Remember, when we divide by a negative, we have to flip that inequality. So I get a is less than -1. So I need a is greater than 5 and a is less than -1. So I'm going to number my number line, but I got to make sure I can fit all of those numbers in there. So I'm going to set up my number line to make sure the important numbers fit within my number line. I want a is greater than 5, so open circle at 5 and shade in numbers that are greater than. Or I want a is less than -1. So again, open circle and shade in numbers that are less than -1. My solution set would be a such that a is less than -1 or a is greater than 5. So we kind of want it to read left to right. What are my low end and what's my high end for this particular one? All right. Getting to the end, if you think you have an idea of how to do these, go ahead and try them on your own, and then we can go over them together, or follow along and do them along with me. So again, these are or, so I'm going to solve each of them separately. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. B is greater than 4. Here I'm going to subtract 1, and I get B is less than or equal to -4. So I need to go all the way from 4 to -4. So 3, 2, 1, 0, -1. I want B is greater than 4, so open circle and greater. B is less than or equal to -4, so closed circle and shading to the left. And then our solution set is b such that b is less than or equal to -4, or b is greater than 4. All right. Here, I'm going to solve quick. 3a is greater than or equal to 3. So a is greater than or equal to 1. For my other one, I'm going to move the 2a over here. I'm going to move the 7 over here. So I get a is less than -1. So I need to go from a +1 and a -1. So that one I don't need a whole lot of numbers. 0, 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3. I want a is less than -1, so open circle at -1, shading to the left. Or a is greater than or equal to +1, so I want a closed circle and shading to the right. And then my solution set is a such that a is less than -1, or a is greater than or equal to +1. All right, we are done. Hopefully that made sense, and we'll do some time practicing this tomorrow in class.